We've talked about fluoride a few times on the show, and now here's one more time that we're going to talk about it. The question is, has the National Institute of Health come out and admitted that fluoride in water is diminishing the IQs of children?
Great question. Okay. So I have seen a post going around social media. Some of you have probably seen it too. It says something along the lines of, the government has been putting fluoride in water and attacking anyone who questions it. And now the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, is finally admitting that fluoride in drinking water is causing lower IQs in children, and it's a hazard to your health. So this statement, this post, it ranges from an omission of important qualifying information to simply not true, depending on which part of the statement we're looking at. So let's talk about it. What is actually happening is something that is involving the National Toxicology Program, which is supported by research groups from 3 governmental agencies that includes part of the NIH, but it's also research groups from the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA, and the Center for Disease Control, the CDC. So technically not just the NIH, though I know that people like to blame things on the NIH these days. The National Toxicology Program, NTP, released a 300-page systematic review of all available research on fluoride exposure and neurodevelopment and cognition. The NTP uses 4 levels of confidence to indicate the strength of evidence that a particular outcome is associated with a particular exposure. Those levels are high, moderate, low, and very low. And their review concluded that there was moderate confidence in the evidence to suggest that exposure to high levels of fluoride was associated with reduced IQ in children. Very important to remember that it's high levels. So a few important things to remember. This review was looking at total exposure to fluoride. It was not and could not evaluate the impact of just fluoride in drinking water, because you can get fluoride from a lot of other sources. In addition to being in some communities drinking water either naturally or from intentional fluoridation, people are exposed to fluoride through other foods, beverages, toothpaste, mouthwash, so on. When it comes to drinking water specifically, they were looking at fluoride exposure at a level of at least 1.5 milligrams per liter, which is over twice as much as the recommended limit for fluoridating water. So when we add fluoride to water, we're adding less than half of that amount. They even explicitly state in the review that there was insufficient data to make determinations about the health impacts of the low levels of fluoride that are added to drinking water. So this is not some bombshell about fluoride in drinking water. It's further proof that too much of a good thing then can become a bad thing, and more data is needed to understand the exact connection and the levels at which fluoride's risks outweigh their benefits.
Is it too early to say, from a research standpoint, that the wrong takeaway would be for there's fluoride in the water and in toothpaste and in mouthwash, and maybe not to do all of those things at the same time if I was a child?
Yeah, there's really not enough information for that. I mean, we've already talked about don't swallow toothpaste. You don't swallow mouthwash. We swallow water, of course. So fluoride's also in foods. It's in apples. It's in, different foods that we eat. So it's too early to say. I think there needs to be more information about exactly at what level fluoride becomes dangerous to people or has an impact on cognition. Also, correlation is not causation. They just found a moderate amount of evidence, so it's not super high. So, it's a grounds for more investigation. But when we're talking about fluoridated water, the levels that we intentionally do are much lower than what they were looking at for exposure overall.
Great. Just realized that fluoride is the most frequent recurring topic on
I
Health
think it
Morning.
is at this point.
Unexpected, but
yeah.
Great. All right.